Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for Agent Carter Season 1, Episode 7, Snafu. And I have to say one thing about this episode. Wow, this episode was once again, another amazing episode. But I have to say something. I'm actually going to be really sad when Agent Carter ends next week, because as much as I want to see Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. come back, because I know it's going to be awesome, I've been loving this show. It's really doing something that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. hasn't done, and that's had a great first season gets attached to those characters, because this season we're really attached to all the characters. I mean, the show is just so interesting. And if they can keep the show this interesting, it's going to totally be better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It is better than Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I'm going to be sad to see it go, but this episode was amazing, and the finale is probably going to be amazing because of the way this episode ended. But let's just get into this episode because it was amazing. So, we start off in Russia in 1943, and a surgeon calls Dr. Ivchenko to surgery, explaining that they need him to numb a man's pain. And they're out of anesthetic and need Ivchenko's help, and if they don't amputate the wounded soldier's leg, he'll die. And Ivchenko agrees, and he regresses the soldier, Private Ivchenko, before the war, where he was playing chess with his mother. And Ivchenko says that he must focus and can stay there as long as he wants, and Ivchenko feels nothing as they amputate his life. So that's really interesting, the way that he, basically just felt nothing. So basically, one of the things that I was looking forward to seeing the most in this episode was just, of course, the whole thing with Peggy, everyone finding out Peggy's true intentions. I was really interested in seeing where they were going to go with that from here, because, I mean, the central plot of the show was her working with SSR and her working with Jarvis on the side. That's really what the central plot was, and I was really interested in seeing where they were going to go. And they went a really interesting direction, because basically Souza is questioning Peggy as Roger and Ivchenko walk, and the SSR agents lays out the case against her, and she asks if he thinks that she killed Krzyzewski. And basically, that's what they think is really going on. She has nothing to do with that. Daniel figures it was a performance and says that he had her back for 6 months while she sold him out, and he tells her to explain the vial. And Peggy says that he's wasting time when a trained killer is out there. Of course, they've been trying to find Krzyzewski's killer, and of course, they suspect that it's Peggy, because that's what they suspect is going on. Of course, Peggy's not, that's not what it's all about. It's not that Peggy killed Krzyzewski, it's that Peggy's working with Jarvis. That's really what's going on there. And, I like that they don't know exactly what's going on. I just find it really interesting. I definitely really like that. So Daniel goes to get some coffee while Jack tells, Sousa goes to get some coffee while Jack tells Roger that Yawk is dead. He was hit by a truck, and he wonders why Ivchenko is there. And Roger, assures Ivchenko that he can stay, and Ivchenko notes that Peggy was an excellent liar, which she is. She's done a very good job of lying to them, but she's not that good of a liar. She's not good where she would kill Krzyzewski, because we know she wouldn't kill Krzyzewski. And who do I think killed Krzyzewski? It's Ivchenko, obviously, that killed Krzyzewski. I don't know, but we'll see what happens there. But basically they think that she killed Krzyzewski, and basically Roger tells him to take Ivchenko back and then come back to continue their interrogation. And Roger, Jack, and Sousa are continuing bombarding Peggy with questions, and Jack figures that something doesn't add up, given that she saved her life in Russia. And Daniel figures that she's involved with Howard, and Jack suggests that that she's involved with Howard, and Jack suggests that he hung Peggy out to dry, and Peggy insists that Howard isn't the man they want. She's been conducting her own investigation, which is true, and Roger says that they were investigating Howard and asked her about the spear, which I was very interested in seeing what the spear was going to do. So Peggy refuses, says that she knows nothing about Fanau, and tells them to look for Dottie. Dottie in this episode, holy shit, Dottie is such an awesome villain. She is so much better than the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. villains. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. villains are nothing compared to Dottie. Dottie is just such a well-done character, and she's so well-developed, and I love that about her character. Dottie is shopping for a baby carriage, and then tells the clerk that she's taking it with her, and then she asks what color, and she says she wants a blue one, and the clerk gets her a blanket, and notes that she doesn't look very far along. She doesn't even look pregnant or anything like that. So, I was kind of just like, what exactly is her angle here? Because we know that she has to kill Peggy. That's her mission, is to kill Peggy. So my question is, what was she exactly going to do? How is this going to help her out with killing Peggy and everything? And basically, Jack tells Peggy that the deal he offered is off the table. He warns her that Roger will have her beat her, but Peggy isn't intimidated. And basically, I like that Jack said that, because Jack and Peggy, as I said, were getting very close, and now Jack is just like, you know what, fuck it, I don't care about you, and I like that he said that to her. So Jarvis enters the operator's room and asks Rose to let him see Roger, and he says that he's been there before for questioning, and says that he has the signed confession of Howard Stark, and the agents bring Peggy to see Jarvis upon his request, and Jarvis says that Howard has decided to come clear and admit that he robbed his own vault and sold his weapons tech. And as we know, that's not true. That if that is true, that's really interesting. But I don't think that's true. There's no way that's true. I mean, Howard Stark would not do this to Peggy. There's just no way that he would have done this to her. However, if you remember, he lied to her about that whole thing and everything. So, basically, it's very plausible. So Jack suggests that he hung Peggy out to dry, and Peggy insists that Howard isn't the man they want. I just read this. Basically, the agents bring Peggy to see Jarvis per his request, and Jarvis says that Howard has decided to come clear, and basically tells her straight out that he robbed his own vault and sold his weapons tech. And once Roger agrees to Howard's terms to release Jarvis and Peggy, Howard will turn himself in. And that's really interesting because, I mean, it seemed like Howard really wanted to help out Peggy, but if his real mission was to go against Peggy, he's really diabolical with that, definitely. It definitely makes a lot of sense why he'd do something like that. I mean, especially knowing how self-centric and arrogant Tony Stark is, it totally makes sense that Howard would do that. It totally makes sense, and I actually think that could be a really good twist if that's true. So basically, Howard returns himself, and Roger refuses to release them until he has Howard in custody, because he does not want them to go, because he's not 100% sure that he's telling the truth. He thinks that, there could be a possibility that Howard is covering himself up and everything. And as he goes, Roger tells Peggy that she's out of the SSR, and that was huge when that happened. I mean, just everything bad that could be happening to Peggy is happening here. Peggy packs her things from her desk and goes back to the conference room, and once they're alone, Jarvis admits that he panicked, and he was not telling the truth, and I knew he wasn't. I knew that Howard would not do that to them. So, basically, the confession portrays Peggy as a seduced woman, and Peggy admits that she didn't think Howard was so noble, and Jarvis hesitates, and Peggy realizes that Howard didn't write the confession. He explains that Howard never even returned his calls, so he panicked and forgot the confession. So basically, Jarvis just did that because he had no idea what else to do. And Peggy points out that when Howard doesn't show up, they will both be hanged. And I agree with Peggy. That's what's going to happen to them, is that they're going to be killed because of this. Because they think that Roger is going to come and bail and, take himself in, turn himself in, but that's not what's going to happen because they don't even know where Howard is. Howard's MIA right now, and that's really interesting to see where that was going to go. So in his office, Roger calls his wife Loretta, and of course we know that last week we found out he was having problems with her, and he basically tells her that he has always wanted the best for her and wants to talk to her at dinner, and if Ivchenko listens, and once Roger's done, says that the call sounded fruitful, and Roger thanks him for his advice, but of course he has no idea that Ivchenko is working against him, and all this, that Dottie is working with Ivchenko. He has no idea that that's going on, which I like, definitely. And Jarvis suggested they lure an agent in. We then go back to Peggy and Jarvis, and basically he's talking about how they want to lure an agent in, but Peggy warns that it's not going to work, and she sees Ivchenko in Roger's office signaling out the window, and realizes that he's communicating with someone, and across the street, Dottie takes down the message, and Peggy recognizes the Morse code and translates it as prepare for evacuation in 90 minutes, and realizes that Leviathan is coming, and that's huge because, of course, Leviathan has been this big threat to them, and now they know it's coming. And Peggy approaches Roger and says that she wants to make a confession. And I like that she told him this because, I mean, it could have ended up terribly for her. So I like that she's honest with him. That's one of the things I've always loved about Peggy is that she is very honest. And she tells him, and especially because she hasn't been honest with them, I like that she was honest here because, I mean, she had to be honest with them. She had to tell them that he's not coming. And I like that she tells them that the confession that he wrote was fake. And she'll give them the truth, and in the conference room, she says that he found the stolen weapons and called Souza to let him take the credit because she knew they would never acknowledge her. So when Roger wonders why she's confessing, she says that she needs them to believe her about Ivchenko. And Roger defends Ivchenko, and Sousa's wondering why she didn't come to one of them, and Peggy says that they all ignore her and says there's one more thing, which is true. They all ignored her. Not a single one of them really respected her, and they didn't really care about her opinion. I mean, Souza cared, but they really did not care. That's why she never told them, because she just didn't think they cared about her. I mean, they were really cold-hearted to her, and only recently they've actually respected her as an agent. So I like that she said that to them, because it really just shows how she was treated, and basically, she says there's one more thing. She opens the spear, and of course, that is where Steve Rogers' blood is. And Peggy admits that she kept it because she wanted a second chance at keeping Steve safe. And it's a really sad scene, definitely, because of course, what's happened to Steve Rogers. One of the things I like that Agent Carter does is that they don't dwell on Steve Rogers being dead. her thinking he's dead at least, which of course we know he's not dead, but they don't dwell on it, which I like, because, I mean, she thinks he's dead, but we know he's not, and I like that he always comes back into play, though, which I do like seeing. So back in his office, Roger asks Ivchenko to close the window, and as Ivchenko does so, he notices the agents going across the street. He then hypnotizes Roger again, getting him to describe the perfect dinner with Loretta, and Roger tries to fight it, but Ivchenko tells him to enjoy because afterward they have something important to take care of. And Jack Souza and the other two agents take the elevator up through the neighboring building, and they split up. And Jack admits to Souza that he believes Peggy, and that's good because she's telling the truth. And I like that he said that to him because it's true. He should believe her, and he tells Souza to shoot to kill if they find the woman. And Roger takes Peggy and Jarvis to the interrogation room, draws a gun on them, locks them in, and breaks the key off the door. And basically, they're going to be interrogated. So, Dottie then spots Souza, quickly closes the door. He hears her and goes to investigate. And when she saw Souza, I'm like, oh shit, she better not kill Souza because I do not want her to kill Souza. I really like Souza's character. I don't want Souza to die. And I'm just like, please do not kill Souza. And basically, Roger takes Ivchenko to the lab and tells Dubin and his scientists that Peggy stole the spear, and they're shutting down the lab for an inquiry, and Dubin vouches for everyone there, but Roger cuts him off and repeats his order. The scientists leave, and Ivchenko tells Roger to get him item 17 from Stark's collection, and while Roger's searching, Ivchenko finds a quilted vest, and I'm just like, what does item 17 do? And says that it's something he hears only whispers of, and he finds a crate of item 17, and Ivchenko opens it to confirm it's what he wants, and I was very interested in seeing, what exactly is an item 17, what does it do, and we find a little later on. So, Dottie emerges from the dentist's office, sees Sousa's shadow in an adjoined hallway. She walks past and he orders her to freeze, spins, kicks the gun out of his hand. They struggle and Dottie knocks him down, but Souza manages to grab his gun and Dottie runs onto the stairs. The other two agents cut her off, but she drops down the stairwell, bouncing from railing to railing. Another agent's waiting. Dottie drops down in front of him and smiles. And Ivchenko has Roger escort him to the elevator and asks for the package containing item 17. So, they really have planned this out really well, I have to say. They are brilliant plan here. I mean, they're dealing with masterminds, definitely. And Roger's hesitating, and Ivchenko tells him focus again. He then gives Roger the vest and tells him that his family's waiting. And there, Jack finds the dead agent and calls it in. And basically, the dentist, he finds the dentist dead and everything. And that was really interesting to see. I mean, he sees this dead agent here, and he knows that Dottie went after him, and that was definitely really well done seeing, and I thought that was really good, because now they know they can't trust Dottie, and Ivchenko walks outside, Dottie picks him up in a car, she says they've been compromised, but Ivchenko says that it's irrelevant. He tells Dottie that they need to test the item and assures her that the SSR will be too busy to worry about them. And in the interrogation room, Peggy and Jarvis realize that nobody is coming. Nobody is going to help them here. Nobody's going to interrogate them. They're just going to sit here. So they don't know what to do here. They decide to pick up the table and smash the one-way mirror, but they realize that they're still handcuffed to the table, even if they try to do that. And Jack comes in, and Peggy asks where Roger is, and Jack's like, what the hell's going on here? He hears all this noise, and he has no idea what's going on, so Roger hallucinates, basically his son coming and finds his son making a bird cage in his kitchen. And Loretta wonders why he's there early, and Roger says that he needs to see her, and he must see screwed up and let a man in custody walk out, and Loretta asks what he's going to do, and Roger says that he doesn't care, he just wants to come home, and asks Loretta if he can come home, and Loretta takes his hand, and they kiss, and again, he's hallucinating here, so he really is thinking about what he wants to have between him and his wife, and it makes us care more about Roger, and I definitely like that they did that, because I want to care about Roger's character. I like Roger's character overall, and I think he's really well done. So, Jack and the others find the entrance to Roger in his office wearing the vest, which is glowing red, and Roger goes to the door, and Jarvis, recognizing the vest, tells everyone to get clear. He explains it's a prototype for a new source of armor and doubled as a heat source, and locking the armor activates the self-sustaining battery. The energy source is powerful and flawed and quickly overheats, and Peggy goes to get the scientists, and Daniel then finds the dentist dead in his office. He finds Dottie's case that she left behind and discovers the message Ivchenko sent to Dottie to kill Peggy. And basically, Souza now knows that he cannot trust Ivchenko and Dottie, which I love. And the vest continues heating up, and Roger says that Ivchenko hypnotized him and made him take something from the lab. And Jarvis warns that they can't tamper without the security, and it's impervious to all outside elements, and Dubin has no idea what to do. But Roger says that he knows what to do. He grabs a gun from Jack and tells them to tell Loretta that he's sorry he missed dinner. Roger then tells Peggy to promise that she'll get Ivchenko, and she promises. He then shoots out the window, jumps out, the vest explodes, and wow, that was such an intense scene, but I love that. I thought it was really well done. So the agents recover from the explosion, and Souza returns, and Jack tells him what happened, and Peggy admits to Jarvis that it's her fault, and because she brought Ivchenko to the SSR, which, if you remember, that's true. She brought him to the SSR because she thought he was a good person, she thought she could trust him, and she was wrong, and I like for once that Peggy was actually wrong. She's always right, and for once she's wrong, which I like seeing. So she promises, and he then shoots out the window and jumps out, and the vest explodes, and basically Peggy then realizes that Ivchenko was after Steve Rogers' blood. It wasn't Howard. It was Ivchenko all along. So my question is, could Howard possibly be working with Ivchenko? I could definitely see it being a possibility, but I don't know, because Jarvis is bringing up the fact that it's Howard's fault for building the technology. So I could definitely see it being a possibility. But then we see what their actual plan is, because we then see at the movie theater, Dottie's wheeling in a baby carriage and takes a seat. She turns on the gas cylinder in the carriage and leaves, and Ivchenko bars the doors behind her as they leave. Ivchenko assures Dottie that the invention will work, and at the lab, Peggy and the others are confirming that the blood is still there, and they start searching the crates to find out what Ivchenko took, and Dubin confirms that item 17 is gone. And again, we don't know what this item 17 thing does. So Jarvis admits he has no idea what it does, and nobody knows what this item 17 thing does. So in the theater, everybody's coughing, they're going berserk, they're attacking each other. It reminded me of Kingsman, guys, it did. I mean, it reminded me of Samuel Jackson's character in Kingsman when he pressed that button, just constant chaos. That's what this reminded me of. So, an usher takes her a husband and wife who are running late to the theater. They find the door bolted, and when they open it, the entire theater is filled with corpses. And that's basically how the episode ends. So, I don't know what what Dottie and Ivchenko plan to do. But if that's what they're going to do to Peggy, then Peggy's going to die, and a bunch of people are going to die next week, definitely. If that's what they have planned, shit is going to go down, and I can't wait. I thought that was such an awesome cliffhanger, and I absolutely loved that cliffhanger. I thought, I definitely really enjoyed it. I thought that was a really good cliffhanger overall, and I just thought that was very, very well done. I definitely really enjoyed that cliffhanger, and I just really liked it. I did. I mean, one of the things that I definitely really liked about this cliffhanger was just that we see, now they know that they can trust Peggy, but they can't trust Dottie and Ivchenko. So they're definitely going after Dottie and Ivchenko. Definitely that is something that is going to happen here. Now, as far as Howard, I want to see how Howard is connected to all this. I don't know where Howard is. Of course, Jarvis and Peggy, they don't know where he is either. So I'm very interested in seeing what's actually going to happen with Jarvis, because he's MIA right now. So we don't know where he is. He's just missing. And where he is exactly, I have no idea. All we know is that he's not there and he's missing. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Roger and Loretta, I want to see Roger have a legit conversation with Loretta and have that scene that happened when he was hallucinating happen. I definitely want to see it happen. And I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there as well. Souza's going to end up dead. I'm sorry. Souza's going to end up dead. I thought Souza was legitimately going to die in this episode. That scene where he found the dentist, I'm like, he's going to die. Peggy is probably going to kill one of the agents. I'm going to say this. Jack, Souza, and Roger, one of them are going to be dead next week. I know it. I know they're going to be dead. And I'm just calling it right now. I'm calling it that they're going to be dead. And out of all three of them, I definitely feel that Souza and Jack do trust Peggy, but Roger still, I don't think, trusts Peggy. I don't think that he trusts Peggy. I think he's still against her. I think that he thinks that she's lying and everything. Because, of course, she has no evidence that that she was framed by that Howard is not coming. She really has no evidence about that, so she needs something to definitely back that up, and I'm very interested in seeing what's going to happen there. And if Dottie's going after Peggy, what is she exactly planning on doing? And the whole thing with Ivchenko wanting Steve Rogers' blood, why does he want Steve Rogers' blood? Because as we know, He's not dead, so why does he want his blood? I don't exactly know what's going on there, but we'll definitely see what happens in the next episode. I'm assuming what's going to happen in the next episode is kind of what happened in the Shield finale, where we found out everything that there was to know about Sky, of course, aka Daisy. We found out everything about that. So I definitely feel like the season finale for Agent Carter is going to do the same thing, because the season finale, it works so well for Agents of Shield. I definitely feel they're going to do that for Agent Carter, and I have to say, I loved this episode, by far best episode of the season. I'm going to be sad to see this season end next week, but I'm very happy that's ending on a high note, because it's the best it's ever been. I'm absolutely loving the show. That's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for tonight's episode of Arrow. So I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.